Commander Vex pressed his scaled hand against the cold metal of his ship's control panel. His yellow eyes stared at the screen in front of him. The numbers made no sense. They had to be wrong. "Run the scan again," he said to his crew. The young officer beside him moved quickly. Her forearms worked on different controls at the same time. "Same results, Commander. The readings are correct." Vex felt his heart beat faster. In his 30 years of space exploration, he had never seen anything like this. Planet Cathera 7 was supposed to be empty, dead. No life could survive there. Everyone in the galaxy knew this simple fact. The planet was a nightmare world. The temperature changed from freezing cold to burning hot in just a few hours. Gravity storms could crush any ship that got too close. Deadly radiation swept across the surface every few days. Even the strongest alien races stayed far away from Cathera 7. But the scanner was showing something impossible. There were buildings on the surface, straight lines that only intelligent life could make, and footprints. Lots of them. "What kind of footprints?" Vex asked. His officer checked the data again. "2 legs, Commander. The pattern matches humans." The bridge became very quiet. Every crew member stopped their work and looked at the screen. Humans were the newest race to reach space. They came from a small blue planet called Earth. Most aliens thought they were weak and dangerous. The Galactic Coalition had put a barrier around their homeworld 50 years ago. "That cannot be right," Vex said slowly. "Humans barely know how to fly between stars. They are primitive. They fight each other all the time." "The computer has checked the data 5 times, Commander. The footprints are definitely human." Vex stood up from his chair. His tall, reptile-like body cast a long shadow across the bridge. He walked to the main screen and looked at the images. The pictures showed small buildings built into the rocks of Cathera 7. Paths connected the buildings, and everywhere the clear marks of human feet in the dirt. "How long have they been there?" he asked. "The metal in the building shows they are at least 40 years old, Commander." 40 years. That was impossible. Humans had only left their solar system 25 years ago, and even then, they could only travel to nearby star systems. Cathera 7 was hundreds of light years from Earth. "Send a message to Coalition Command," Vex ordered. "Tell them we have found something very strange." Within hours, his communication system was full of messages. Every important leader in the galaxy wanted to know more. Admiral Thok, the military commander of all Coalition forces, spoke to Vex directly. "Are you certain about this discovery?" Admiral Thok's deep voice came through the speakers. He was from a race that looked like walking rocks. His people were known for being very serious. "Yes, Admiral. We have checked everything many times. There are humans living on Cathera 7. "Living? Not just old ruins?" "The buildings show recent activity, Admiral. We can see smoke from some of them. Movement. These humans are alive." There was a long silence. Then Admiral Thok spoke again. "This changes everything, Commander. If humans can survive on Cathera 7, then we have been very wrong about them." Dr. Ilani joined the conversation. She was from a race that looked like walking crystals. Her people were the best scientists in the galaxy. "Commander Vex, can you get closer to the planet? We need more information." "Dr. Ilani, you know how dangerous Cathera 7 is. 3 Coalition ships have been destroyed just trying to get close." "Yes, but if humans are living there, maybe we can find a safe way to approach." Vex looked at his crew. They all seemed worried. Cathera 7 had killed many brave explorers. The planet was famous for being impossible to reach. "We will try," Vex said, "but we stay far enough away to escape if needed." He ordered his ship to move closer to the planet. Every few minutes they stopped to check for danger. The gravity storms could appear without warning. One mistake would destroy them all. As they got closer, the images became clearer. The human settlement was bigger than they first thought. There were at least 50 buildings, gardens with growing plants, even what looked like children playing in safe areas. "This is impossible," whispered one of Vex's officers. "How do they survive the temperature changes?" "Look at this," said another crew member. "The buildings are built into the rock faces. They use the planet's natural protection." Vex studied the images carefully. The humans had not just survived on Cathara 7, they had made it work for them. They had found ways to use the planet's deadly features to help them live. "Commander," his communications officer called out, "we are receiving a signal from the planet." "A signal? From the humans?" "Yes, sir. It is in basic galactic language." Vex felt his scales stand up with surprise. How did humans know galactic language? Most of them had never even met aliens before. "Put it through," he ordered. A calm voice filled the bridge. It was clearly human, but speaking words that any alien could understand. "Unknown ship. This is Quan of the Cathara settlement. We see you in orbit. You are welcome to visit if you come in peace. Please respond on frequency 779. The entire bridge crew looked at Commander Vex. A human was inviting them to visit the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. A human was speaking to them like meeting aliens was normal. "How do we respond, Commander?" asked his communications officer. Vex thought for a long moment. Everything he knew about humans said this was impossible. They were supposed to be afraid of aliens. They were supposed to be too primitive to survive in space. They definitely could not live on a planet that killed everything else. But the evidence was right in front of him. Humans were not just alive on Cathara 7. They seemed comfortable there. They were acting like gracious hosts. "Send a response," Vex said finally. "Tell them we are explorers from the Galactic Coalition. We are surprised to find anyone living on this planet. Ask them how this is possible." The reply came quickly. "Commander Vex, we have been here for many years. Cathara 7 is our home now. If you can land safely, we would be happy to explain everything. Fair warning though, the gravity storm season starts in 6 hours. You should decide quickly." Vex looked at his crew again. They were all thinking the same thing. No alien ship had ever landed on Cathara 7 and survived. But these humans were offering to help them do exactly that. "Sir," his science officer said quietly, "if they have been living here for years, they must know how to land safely." "Or this is a trap," said another officer. "What kind of trap?" Vex asked. "If they wanted to kill us, they could just wait for the planet to do it. Why warn us about the gravity storms? That was a good point. If the humans meant harm, they had easier ways to destroy visitors." "Send another message," Vex decided. "Ask them for landing instructions." Within minutes, detailed directions came. Back. The humans told them exactly where to land, when to land, and how to protect their ship from the planet's dangers. The instructions were clear and professional. Vex made his choice. "Prepare for landing. Alert Coalition Command that we are making contact with the humans of Cathara 7. As his ship moved toward the planet's surface, Vex wondered what they would find. Were these humans different from the ones the galaxy knew about? Had they changed, somehow to survive this impossible world? Soon he would have his answers. And those answers would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about the human race. The ship began its descent toward the most dangerous planet in known space, guided by the impossible humans who called it home. Commander Vex felt his ship shake as it entered Cathara 7's atmosphere. The human instructions were very detailed, but landing on this planet still felt like flying into death itself. "Follow their path exactly," he told his pilot. "Do not change course by even 1 degree. The pilot nodded, his 6 eyes focused on the controls. The humans said to avoid the Eastern Canyon. "There is a gravity well that opens and closes every few minutes." How do they know these things? Vex wondered aloud. "We have the best sensors in the galaxy, and we cannot predict these gravity storms." Through the ship's windows, they could see the human settlement below. It looked so small against the harsh landscape of Cathara 7. Red rocks stretched in every direction. Steam rose from hot springs that could boil a person alive. In the distance, lightning flashed from electrical, storms that never stopped. "Landing zone in sight," the pilot announced. "The humans have marked it with bright lights." As they got closer, Vex saw something amazing. The landing area was perfectly prepared. The ground was level and smooth. Large stones had been moved to create a safe space. Someone had worked very hard to make this landing possible. The ship touched down gently. Vex looked at his instruments. Everything was normal. The temperature outside was hot but not deadly. The radiation levels were acceptable. Somehow the humans had chosen the safest spot on the entire planet. "Sir?" His communications officer called out. "The humans are asking if we need any help with our ship." "Tell them we are fine," Vex replied. "Ask if it is safe to come outside." "They say yes, but we should wear protective suits. The temperature will change in 2 hours." Vex and his team put on their best environmental suits. These suits cost more than most starships. They could protect against almost anything. But as they stepped outside, Vex still felt nervous. A group of humans was walking toward them. They wore simple clothes that looked like they were made from local materials. No heavy protective gear, no breathing masks. They walked like they were taking a stroll in a park. The leader was a woman with short black hair. She moved with calm confidence. Behind her were 4 other humans, 2 men and 2 women. They all looked healthy and relaxed. "Welcome to Cathara 7, the woman said in perfect Galactic language. "I am Quan. We spoke on the radio." Vex stared at her. She was standing in the open air of the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. She should be dead. Instead, she was smiling and acting like a friendly neighbor. "I am Commander Vex," he said through his suit speaker. "We are very surprised to find you here." "I imagine you are," Quan laughed. "Most people think this planet is impossible to live on." One of the men stepped forward. He was tall and had careful eyes. "I am Jin. I handle our engineering and building projects. Would you like to see how we live here?" "Engineering?" asked Dr. Wilani through the radio. She was still on the ship, studying everything through the sensors. "What kind of engineering works on this planet?" Jin smiled. "The kind that works with the planet instead of against it. Come, let me show you." As they walked toward the settlement, Vex noticed more impossible things. The humans had built their homes into the sides of cliffs, but these were not simple caves. They were complex structures with windows, doors, and what looked like ventilation systems. "How do you survive the temperature changes?" Vex asked. A young woman named Hay answered. "The rocks store heat during the hot periods and release it slowly during the cold periods. We just had to learn how to use that natural system." "What about the radiation storms?" "We use them," said another human named Sung. "The radiation follows predictable patterns. We have built collectors that turn the radiation into power for our settlement." Vex stopped walking. "You use the radiation storms for power?" "Of course," Jin said. "They happen every 3 days like clockwork. Each storm gives us enough energy for a week." Dr. Ilani's voice came through the radio. "Commander, this is impossible. Radiation storms cannot be predicted or controlled." Quan heard this and smiled. "Dr. Ilani, would you like to see our storm calendar? We have tracked every storm for 15 years. They follow a very clear pattern." "15 years?" Vex asked. "How long have you been here?" 43 years, Quan replied. "We were part of an early exploration mission from Earth. Our ship had problems and crashed here. We thought we were going to die." "But you didn't die," Vex observed. "No, we didn't. We learned. We adapted. We found ways to make this planet work for us instead of against us." They reached the main settlement. Vex looked around in amazement. There were gardens growing in protected areas. Children were playing games in safe courtyards. Older humans were working on various projects. It looked like a normal, happy community. "This is impossible," he whispered. An elderly human man walked up to them. His hair was white, but his eyes were bright and alert. "I am Tay," he said. "I was on the original ship that crashed here. Would you like to hear the full story?" "Yes," Vex said immediately. Tay led them to a comfortable area with chairs carved from local stone. 43 years ago, we were exploring new star systems for possible human colonies. Our ship had engine trouble and crash-landed here." "How many of you survived the crash?" Vex asked. 28 people. We had very few supplies. Most of our equipment was broken. According to everything we knew, we should have died within days." "What, changed?" Tay smiled. "We stopped trying to fight the planet and started trying to understand it. Instead of hiding from the temperature changes, we learned to predict them. Instead of fearing the gravity storms, we studied them. Instead of running from the radiation, we found ways to use it. A young human came running up to them. It was a child, maybe 10 years old. But something was different about this child. Their movements were too quick, too precise. Their eyes were too bright. "This is Sol," Quan said proudly. Sol was born here on Cathara 7. Vex stared at the child. "Born here? On this planet?" "Yes," Sul said in a clear, strong voice. "This is my home. I have never been anywhere else." Dr. Ilani's voice came through the radio again. "Commander, the child's vital signs are unusual. Their heart rate, brain activity, and muscle responses are all beyond normal human ranges." Sol laughed. "I can hear your friend on the radio. Tell her I am not sick. I am just adapted to live here." "Adapted how?" Vex asked. Jin answered. "The second generation of humans born here are different from us. They can predict gravity storms by feeling them in their bones. They can sense temperature changes hours before they happen. They can even see types of radiation that we cannot see." "Evolution," Tay explained. "In just 2 generations, humans living on Cathara 7 have begun to change, not just learning to survive, but actually becoming better suited for this environment." Vex felt dizzy. Everything he thought he knew about human limitations was wrong. Not only had humans survived on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy, but they were evolving to become even better at it. "Commander," his pilot's voice came through the radio. "We have a problem. The next gravity storm is coming early. We need to take off in 30 minutes or we will be trapped here for 6 hours. Quan looked concerned. 6 hours is not safe for your ship. The gravity storm will be very strong today. Can we stay longer? Vex asked. Of course, Jin said. But you will need to move your ship to a protected area. We have a shelter that can keep it safe. You have a shelter that can protect a starship. We have shelters that can protect anything, Hai said simply. We have been dealing with these storms for 40 years. Vex made a quick decision. Move the ship to their shelter. Dr. Yelani, prepare for an extended stay. We need to learn everything. We can about how these humans live here. As his crew began moving their advanced starship under human protection, Vex realized something important. The humans were not just surviving on Cathara 7. They were mastering it. They had turned the galaxy's most impossible planet into a comfortable home. And if they could do that here, what else might humans be capable of? The gravity storm hit exactly when the humans said it would. Vex watched through a window as winds that could destroy mountains swept across the landscape. His ship, protected by human engineering, did not even shake. These humans had not just survived the impossible. They had made the impossible look easy. The gravity storm raged outside for 6 hours. Commander Vex watched in amazement as winds strong enough to crush buildings swept across the landscape. His ship, protected by human-built shelters, barely moved. How is this possible? Dr. Ilani asked through the radio. She was studying the shelter's construction with her advanced sensors. This material should not exist. Jin, the human engineer, overheard her question. What do you mean? Our sensors show that your shelter walls are made from ordinary rock, but ordinary rock cannot withstand these gravity storms. Jin smiled and touched the wall beside him. You are right. This started as ordinary rock, but we learned how to change it. Change it how? Come, let me show you our workshop. Jin led Commander Vex and his team deeper into the settlement. They walked through tunnels carved into the cliff face. The walls were smooth and perfectly shaped, but more importantly, they felt solid and safe. We discovered something interesting about Cathara 7's rocks, Jin explained as they walked. When they are exposed to the right combination of heat, pressure, and radiation, they become much stronger. That is impossible, Dr. Ilani said through the radio. Rock cannot be strengthened that way. Can't it? Jin asked. He stopped at a large workshop area. Bo, come explain to our guest how we make strong rock. A woman with bright eyes and steady hands looked up from her work table. "I am Bo," she said to the aliens. "I study the planet's radiation patterns. Dr. Ilani wants to know how we strengthen ordinary rock," Jin said. Bo nodded and picked up a piece of normal stone. "This is regular Cathara 7 rock. Watch what happens when I put it in our treatment chamber." She placed the rock in a metal box and pressed several buttons. Lights began flashing in patterns that seemed random to Vex. But after 10 minutes, Bo opened the box and took out the rock. It looked the same. But when Bo hit it with a metal hammer, the hammer bounced off without making even a scratch. "How?" Vex asked. "The radiation storms that happen every 3 days are not random," Bo explained. "They follow very specific patterns, different types of radiation, different strengths, different timings." "We know this," Dr. Ilani said. "But radiation cannot strengthen rock." "Not by itself," Bo agreed. "But when you combine the right radiation with heat from the hot springs and pressure from the gravity storms, something wonderful happens. The rock's internal structure changes." She showed them cross-sections of treated and untreated rock under a microscope. The treated rock had a completely different internal pattern. It looked almost like metal. "We call it strength rock," Jin said. "We use it for everything. Buildings, tools, even art." "How did you figure this out?" Vex asked. An older human named Tay joined the conversation. "Trial and error. Lots of error. In our first year here, we lost 12 people to various accidents." The mood became serious. These humans had paid a high price for their knowledge. "But we learned from every mistake," Tay continued. "Every person who died taught the rest of us something important about how to survive. We had to learn fast," added another human named Min who had just arrived. "The planet does not give second chances." "Min handles our resource management," Quan explained. "She knows where to find everything we need." Min nodded. "After the crash we had almost nothing. No food, no tools, no building materials. We had to use what the planet gave us." "What did the planet give you?" Vex asked. "Everything," Min said simply. "Food plants that grow in hot springs, metal ores that concentrate during gravity storms, crystals that form during radiation bursts." "Show him the energy crystals," Bo suggested. Min led them to another part of the workshop. Here, dozens of clear crystals sat in organized rows. They glowed with soft light. "These crystals grow naturally during radiation storms," Min explained. "But we learned how to guide their growth. Now we can make crystals that store energy, crystals that purify water, crystals that provide light." Dr. Ilani's voice was full of amazement. "Commander, those crystals are giving off energy readings I have never seen before. They seem to be storing and releasing power in ways that violate known physics." "They do not violate physics," said a young voice. Everyone turned to see Sul, the child born on Cathara 7. "They just use physics that you have not learned yet." "What do you mean?" Vex asked. Sul walked over to one of the energy crystals and held it in their small hands. The crystal began glowing, brighter. "Every planet has its own energy patterns. Most people try to bring their own energy to a planet. We learn to use the planet's energy instead. Sul can sense energy patterns that the rest of us cannot see," Quan explained proudly. "All of our second-generation children can do this." "How many second-generation children do you have?" Vex asked. 18, Tay replied. "All born here, all adapted to life on Cathara 7. And they are all like Sol? Each one has different abilities. Some can predict weather changes days in advance. Some can sense underground water sources. Some can communicate with the planet's wildlife." "Wildlife?" Dr. Ilani asked. "Our sensors show no animal life on Cathara 7. Sol laughed. "Your sensors cannot see them because they live underground during most of the day, but they come out during safe periods. Want to meet some?" Before anyone could answer, Sul made a series of clicking sounds. Within minutes, small creatures began emerging from cracks in the walls. They looked like a cross between lizards and birds, with bright scales that changed color. "We call them rock dancers," Sul explained. They taught us which areas are safe and which areas are dangerous. The creatures approached Sol without fear. One of them climbed onto Sol's shoulder and made soft, chirping sounds. Rock dancers have lived on Cathera 7 for thousands of years, Min added. They know all the planet's secrets. When we learned to communicate with them, our survival rate improved dramatically. Commander Vex watched a 10-year-old human child talking to alien creatures that his sensors could not even detect. Everything he thought he knew about the limits of life was being proven wrong. There is something else you should know, Quan said seriously. We are not the only human settlement. What do you mean? Over the years, some of our people have left to explore other worlds. Worlds that other species consider impossible to live on. How many other worlds? Min and Jin exchanged glances. 6 confirmed settlements, maybe more. 6 impossible worlds now have human colonies? Vex asked. Not just colonies, Tay corrected. Thriving communities. Each world taught us new things. Each world made us stronger and more adaptable. Dr. Ilani's voice was barely a whisper. Commander, if this is true, then humans have been secretly expanding across the galaxy's most hostile environments for decades. Why keep it secret? Vex asked. Quan's expression became serious. Because we knew how other species would react. You put barriers around our homeworld because you thought we were too dangerous. What would you have done if you knew we were successfully colonizing worlds you considered impossible? Vex had no answer. The Galactic Coalition had quarantined Earth because humans seemed aggressive and unpredictable. If they had known humans were also incredibly adaptable and resourceful, the Coalition might have tried to stop human expansion entirely. The galaxy thinks humans are primitive, Jin said. We decided it was safer to let you keep thinking that. But now you are telling us the truth, Vex observed. Because it is time, Sol said in their clear, confident voice. The second generation is ready to explore even more impossible worlds. We cannot hide forever. What kind of worlds? Vex asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. Bo smiled. There is a planet made entirely of crystal that sings in the solar wind. Another world where gravity flows like water. A star system where time moves differently on each planet. Those worlds would kill anyone who tried to land on them, Dr. Ilani protested. That is what everyone said about Cathara 7, Quan replied. But we are not anyone. We are humans, and humans do not accept that anything is truly impossible. The gravity storm outside was ending. Through the workshop windows, Vex could see the landscape returning to its normal, dangerous state. But now he understood that dangerous was just another word for challenging in the human language. These humans had not just survived on Cathera 7. They had unlocked its secrets, befriended its wildlife, and learned to use its deadly features as tools. And they had been doing the same thing on 6 other impossible worlds. The galaxy was about to discover that its understanding of human limitations was completely wrong. P. Commander Vex's report reached every corner of the galaxy within hours. The news spread like wildfire through the Coalition's communication networks. Humans were not primitive. They were not contained. They had been quietly conquering the galaxy's most dangerous worlds for decades. On the Coalition's capital world, emergency meetings were called. Leaders of 12 different species gathered in the Great Council chamber. Admiral Thok stood before a massive screen showing images from Cathera 7. The situation is clear, Admiral Thok announced to the assembled leaders. We have greatly underestimated the human species. Empress Zara, leader of the entire coalition, studied the images carefully. Her people were tall and graceful, with silver skin that reflected light like mirrors. They had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years. These humans have been living on Cathera 7 for 43 years, she said slowly. That means they reached this planet before we even knew they could travel between stars. It gets worse, Admiral Thok continued. According to Commander Vex's report, humans have colonies on 6 other impossible worlds, worlds that we abandoned as uninhabitable. A representative from the crystal-based Ilani spoke up. If they can survive on these worlds, what else are they capable of? That is what we need to find out, Empress Zara replied. Send diplomatic missions to all human colonies. I want to know the full extent of their expansion. But finding human colonies proved more difficult than expected. When coalition ships arrived at the impossible worlds where humans were supposed to live, they found thriving communities that seemed to have been there for years. On Skorax Prime, a world where acid rain fell constantly and the ground was always on fire, coalition explorers found humans living in beautiful cities built into volcanic tubes. The humans had learned to use the acid rain to power their machines and the volcanic heat to grow food. On Frozen Deep, a planet where temperatures never rose above -200 degrees, humans had built underground cities heated by geothermal energy. They raised animals that lived on ice and grew plants that thrived in darkness. On Stormworld, where hurricane-force winds never stopped and lightning struck the ground every few seconds, humans had built floating cities that rode the wind currents. They used the constant lightning to power everything they needed. Each discovery made the coalition more nervous. These were not lucky survivors struggling to stay alive. These were successful communities that had mastered their environments completely. Dr. Ailani was studying data from all the human colonies. There is a pattern here, she told the council. Every world that we consider impossible to live on, humans see as a resource to be used. What do you mean? Empress Zara asked. We look at acid rain and see danger. Humans see power generation. We look at constant storms and see destruction. Humans see renewable energy. We avoid these worlds because they will kill us. Humans go to these worlds because they offer opportunities. Meanwhile, on Earth, something unexpected was happening. A ship appeared in orbit around the human homeworld. But this was not a coalition ship. It was a human ship, and it was bigger and more advanced than anything humans were supposed to be able to build. The ship sent a message to coalition forces. This is Ambassador Wu of the Human Deep Space Federation. We request permission to address the Galactic Council. Admiral Thok was confused. Human Deep Space Federation? We have never heard of such an organization. That is because you never asked, came the reply. We would like to change that. Within days, Ambassador Wu arrived at the coalition capital. She was a middle-aged human woman with calm eyes and a confident manner. With her came two other humans, Ray, who was introduced as a military advisor, and Locke, a young inventor. Thank you for seeing us, Ambassador Wu said to the assembled council. We believe it is time for an honest conversation about humanity's place in the galaxy. Empress Zara leaned forward in her chair. We are listening. First, let me clear up some misunderstandings, Wu began. Earth was never quarantined because we were too dangerous. Earth was quarantined because we were testing your intentions toward us. Testing our intentions? Admiral Thok asked. Yes. We wanted to see how you would treat a species you thought was weaker than you. The results were interesting. Ray stepped forward. While you thought you were containing us, we were actually expanding across the galaxy. We now have successful colonies on 47 worlds that you consider uninhabitable. 47? Dr. Ilani gasped. Commander Vex's report mentioned only 6 confirmed colonies. Those were the ones we allowed you to find, Locke said with a smile. We have been very careful about revealing our true capabilities. Ambassador, Wu activated a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy with dozens of glowing points. These are current human settlements. As you can see, we have been quite busy. The council chamber fell silent. The map showed human colonies in areas of space that even the most advanced coalition species avoided. Dead zones filled with radiation, star systems with unstable gravity, nebulae where most ships lost navigation completely. This is impossible, whispered one of the council members. No, said Empress Zara quietly. This is what we get for underestimating an entire species. Ambassador Wu continued her presentation. We are not here to threaten anyone. We are here to offer partnership. Our colonies have developed technologies that could benefit all species. What kind of technologies? Dr. Ilani asked. Locke stepped forward eagerly. Gravity manipulation systems, radiation to energy converters, temperature regulation that works in any environment, faster than light communication across any distance. And these technologies work? Admiral Thok asked. They work, Ray confirmed. We have been using them for decades. Why share them now? Empress Zara asked. Ambassador Wu's expression became serious. Because isolation was always temporary. The younger generation of humans born on these extreme worlds are ready to explore even more challenging environments. They want to push the boundaries of what is possible. What do you mean by more challenging? Dr. Ilani asked nervously. Black hole research stations, Locke said excitedly. Cities inside star coronas, colonies in parallel dimensions. The council, members looked at each other with growing alarm. If humans could already live on impossible worlds, what would they try next? What do you want from the coalition? Empress Zara asked directly. Official recognition of human sovereignty over our colonies, Ambassador Wu replied. An end to the quarantine around Earth, and membership in the Galactic Coalition as equals. Equals? Admiral Thok asked. Yes, not as junior members who need supervision, not as a primitive species that needs guidance, as equals who bring valuable knowledge and capabilities to the galactic community. Ambassador Wu paused and looked around the chamber. The age of thinking humans are weak or limited is over. We have proven we can thrive in environments that would kill most other species. We have developed technologies that solve problems you thought were unsolvable. And if we refuse? Admiral Thok asked. Ray answered calmly. Then humanity will continue, expanding on its own. The young humans born on extreme worlds are not interested in your approval. They are interested in pushing the limits of where life can exist. That sounds like a threat, Admiral Thok said. It is not a threat, Ambassador Wu replied. It is simply a fact. You can choose to work with humanity as partners, or you can watch from a distance as we continue to expand into areas of space you never thought possible. Empress Zara stood up slowly. She looked at the holographic map showing dozens of human colonies in impossible locations. She thought about the reports from Cathara 7, where humans had turned the galaxy's most dangerous planet into a comfortable home. The Council will need time to discuss this, she announced. Of course, Ambassador Wu said politely. We will wait for your decision. As the human delegation left the chamber, the Council members sat in stunned silence. Everything they thought, they knew about the balance of power in the galaxy had just changed. Humans were not the primitive, contained species they had believed. They were master adapters who had been quietly conquering the galaxy's most hostile environments for decades. The question now was whether the coalition would choose to work with them or against them. And given what humans had already accomplished, working against them seemed like a very dangerous choice. 3 months later, the Galactic Council made their decision. The vote was not unanimous, but it was clear. Humanity would be welcomed as full members of the coalition. The quarantine around Earth was officially ended. Commander Vex stood on the observation deck of his ship, watching the ceremony taking place on the coalition capital world. Representatives from all 12 species were present, along with the human delegation. It was a historic moment. Hard to believe it all started with footprints on an impossible planet, Dr. Ilani said, joining him at the window. Those footprints changed everything, Vex replied. They proved that our understanding of limits was completely wrong. Below them, Ambassador Wu was signing the official documents that made humanity the 13th member species of the Galactic Coalition. But this was not just about adding another member. This was about recognizing that the galaxy was much bigger and more full of possibilities than anyone had imagined. The changes began immediately. Human engineers started working with coalition scientists to adapt human technologies for other species. The gravity manipulation systems developed on Stormworld could help build space stations in dangerous areas. The radiation converters from Cathara 7 could power entire star systems. More importantly, humans began teaching other species their approach to impossible problems. Instead of avoiding challenges, they showed how to study them and find opportunities. On Cathara 7, the original human settlement had become a major research center. Scientists from across the galaxy came to learn how humans had mastered the planet's deadly environment. Quan, now the official planetary administrator, led tours for alien visitors. The key is not to fight the planet, she explained to a group of young scientists. The key is to understand what the planet is trying to teach you. Sul, now 13 years old, had become something of a celebrity. The child who could communicate with rock dancers and sense energy patterns represented the future of human adaptation. But Sul was not alone. Across the 47 human colonies, a new generation was growing up with abilities their parents never had. On Frozen Deep, human children could survive outside for hours without protection. On Skorax Prime, young humans could predict acid rain patterns days in advance. On Stormworld, teenagers could feel changes in the wind currents from hundreds of miles away. These children represented something new in the galaxy. They were not just adapted to their environments. They were evolved for them. Jin, the engineer from Cathera 7, now worked at the Coalition's main research facility. He was leading a project to help other species colonize worlds they had previously abandoned. We are not just sharing our technologies, he explained to his mixed species team. We are sharing our way of thinking. When you see a problem, ask yourself, how can this problem become a solution? The first joint human-alien colony was established on Titan's Grief, a world where magnetic storms made electronics fail constantly. Humans had learned to build organic computers that worked better during magnetic storms. With human help, a team of crystal-based aliens built a research station that actually became more powerful when the storms hit. But the most important change was happening in young minds across the galaxy. Alien children who heard stories about human achievements began asking new questions. Why can't we live underwater? Why can't we survive in space without suits? Why can't we build cities inside stars? Dr. Ilani, now Director of Extreme Environment Research, noticed this trend in her reports. Human influence is changing how all species think about possibilities, she wrote. Young aliens are beginning to approach impossible problems the way humans do. On Earth, humanity was experiencing its own changes. The planet that had been isolated for 50 years was now the center of galactic attention. But humans were not. Content to rest on their achievements. Locke, the young inventor, had established the Institute for Impossible Exploration. Teams of the most adventurous humans were planning expeditions to places no life was thought to survive. We have colonies in 47 impossible places, Locke announced at a press conference. But the galaxy is full of even more impossible places. Black hole event horizons, the cores of stars, parallel dimensions where the laws of physics work differently. Are such expeditions safe? Asked a reporter. Probably not, Locke admitted with a smile. But neither was landing on Cathera 7. Safety is not the point. Discovery is the point. Ray, now the human military liaison to the Coalition, was working on a different kind of project. She was training mixed species teams for exploration of the galaxy's most dangerous regions. Humans are good at surviving impossible conditions, she explained to her trainees. But we are even better when we work with others. Each species brings different strengths to the team. The program was already showing results. A team of humans, crystal beings and gas cloud aliens had successfully explored a region of space where reality itself seemed unstable. They returned with discoveries that would take decades to fully understand, but perhaps the most significant change was happening on the smallest scale. Individual relationships between humans and aliens were forming across the galaxy. Friendship, cooperation, and mutual respect were replacing fear and misunderstanding. Commander Vex had requested a permanent assignment to human colony research. He spent his time visiting human settlements and learning their techniques. On his latest visit to Cathera 7, he brought his own young nephew. Uncle Vex, the young reptilian said, why did adults think this planet was impossible? Because we were thinking like adults, Vex replied. We saw all the reasons why something could not work. Humans see all the reasons why something might work. Sul, now training to lead humanity's first expedition beyond the galactic rim, overheard this conversation. That is not quite right, Sul said gently. We do see the reasons why things might not work, But we also see that might not work is not the same as will not work. What is the difference? Vex's nephew asked. Might not work means there is still a chance, Sewell explained. And humans always try when there is still a chance. As the years passed, the galaxy continued to change. Worlds that had been written off as uninhabitable became bustling colonies. Regions of space that had been marked as impossible to explore became highways for trade and travel. The coalition expanded from 12 species to 27 as contact was made with life forms living in previously unreachable environments. Many of these species had been discovered by human exploration teams who had learned to survive in conditions that would have destroyed any previous expedition. Humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy was not their technologies or their adaptability. It was their refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. They had shown that the galaxy was much larger and more full of life than anyone had imagined. And they were just getting started. In the depths of space, new footprints were being made. Human footprints on the surfaces of neutron stars. Human handprints in the atmospheres of gas giants. Human settlements in the twisted space around black holes. Each impossible achievement opened up new possibilities for all species. Each barrier broken made the next barrier seem less absolute. The galaxy that had once quarantined humanity for being too dangerous now looked to humanity for guidance on achieving the impossible. And humanity, true to their nature, was happy to share everything they had learned. After all, the universe was a very big place. There was room for everyone to find their own impossible dreams and make them real. The age of limits was over. The age of possibilities had begun. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, new footprints were being made on worlds that did not yet have names by explorers who refused to believe that anything was truly unconquerable.